Thank you. You get a call from Joe Mulholland. It's one of those calls you cannot refuse. It's my first time in Glenties. It's my first time at the MacGill Summer School, but I'm a proud graduate of the Joe Mulholland School of Journalism. As he explained, he hired me. He sent me to Washington. He offered me the chance of coming back to prime time, as it was then. He's fixing the microphone now. As you see, it's really an all-round education he offers. I remember when he offered me the job in Washington, he came in and said, "You've got the job," as he puffed on a cigar, and he said, "Any chance you can grow some facial hair or get some glasses?" Because I was a very young-looking 26. But in seriousness, Joe provided me with a great education about journalism. He sourced three things for me which have stood by me. The first was respect for values and tradition, respect for where you come from, and profound respect for your audience. And what I mean by values is I mean the values of journalism, the ethos of objectivity and partiality. He also wanted you to look out for ideas that challenged you, that actually shocked you, that made you think differently. And I think on top of that, he always looked for the humanity of the story, and also told you it's never black or white. That actually sometimes the beauty of a story is in the nuances, in the grey. And as I said, this philosophy, the Joe Mulholland philosophy, stood me in good stead through the years, and never more so than right now in times of economic crisis. Because as far as I'm concerned as a broadcaster, and I have to admit a certain complicity in this, the debate about economics right now is almost a debate about false choices between right-wing and left-wing, between optimism and pessimism, between good news and bad news. And I'm not saying that there's no place for bad news, because I think there is essentially a place for bad news right now. Because if we had more of it when we were going down the tubes, or before we did, perhaps we wouldn't be so far down the tubes. It's also an insult, I think, to people out there who are suffering from negative equity in the suburbs, or job losses in cities like Limerick, or who find their kids are thinking about emigration again. We can't downplay the suffering that they face. But again, it's a false choice to say it's, in the media, a choice between that bad news and good news and optimism, because I think there is a story to be told that's slightly obscured right now about the future. And I, for one, personally, have become very interested on a professional but also personal basis in this notion of innovation in the smart economy. I suppose for me it comes from my own love of American politics. Last year, I can see some journalists here who actually were covering the Obama election. And the notion that this guy, what he did was he offered Americans this radical notion that there's only sanctuary in one place, and that is in change. He said the night he was elected, the genius of America is change. And that notion, I think, is as much an Irish notion as it is an American notion. He also said something, or his White House Chief of Staff said, he said, never let a crisis go to waste. And that notion that in a time of dislocation we find new ideas that challenge us, I think, is absolutely vitally important. I also think that the fact that Americans embrace failure as proof they've tried. And every time I've met someone, an innovator in the past year, I've always been surprised by the extent to which they're proud of the scars. You know, the first three companies that I was with went down the tubes, but I'm so proud of them. And that attitude is something I find even in Ireland today. It's being embraced in a way that's quite indicative of a new class of people that are coming along, that do embrace failure, that do believe that genius is in change. And I think it's a story that needs to be told. And it's surprising when you start asking questions about the smart economy, you get answers you never expected. I mean, innovation, this may sound strange, it's not rocket science. It may be nanoscience, it may be in great areas of health and life sciences, but it's actually from places you wouldn't expect. Everyone holds up Nokia, this Finnish company, as a model of the future because it makes these high-tech products of a great future. It started selling lumber and rubber boots. It became a high-tech company because it changed direction. The same with NTR, used to manage our toll roads. It's an Irish company. It's now investing in sustainable technology across the United States. So again, as I say, innovation comes from places you never expected it. And that brings me to the first speaker of the day, because I think many people, again, think of innovation as something that comes from a lab, a guy with a white coat and a mask and, you know, producing some sort of perpetual motion machine, but it's not. It comes from companies like Abtran. We know last year has seen job losses dominating headlines. This company called Abtran has seen its workforce double in a year. And it's basically doing something that you can call outsourcing. I think they call it partnership, whatever it is. People come along, and it's a big buzzword in the McCarthy report last year. So it's a way of the future whether that report gets implemented. And this company, Abtran, has a story to tell. And I'd like to introduce you to the person who's going to tell us that story. And that's Michael Fitzgerald of Abtran. Please welcome.
Good evening, Chair Mark Little, Tánaiste, Jim. My name is Michael Fitzgerald. I'm the Managing Director of Abtran. Just before I start, Mark, we've been successful, but we're not that successful. We haven't doubled in size in the last 12 months, but we're doing okay. Thank you.
Why let the facts stand in the way of the story?
It's all about honesty. I would like to thank Dr. Joe Mulholland for inviting me here to contribute to the smart economy, and also, I suppose, for the many plugs that he's been giving me all day, and also for the sleepless nights that I've had as I lay awake, waiting for that light bulb moment that would automatically flash, and I get the big idea that would help us create the smart economy. And then I started thinking of the list of speakers, and the eminent list of speakers, and I began to sweat a little. But as you know, innovation is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration, so I think I'll be all right. So what is the big idea? I thought about our need to focus on I suppose the new economies, the life sciences, the biomedical, clean tech, renewables, tourism, traditional economies like food, and smart delivery of services. And I thought of what is our key strength? What's different? What is our unique selling point as a nation? And that has to be our people. We're educated, we are smart, and we're confident, and we have a great resource. But I realise that the big idea is actually it's a simple one. It's a small, simple idea capable of developing the smart economy. The smart economy, it can't be developed in isolation. It's not a silo over here. It's part of the whole economy, and the whole economy is greater than some of the parts, and that's what we need to think about. We've had e-government initiatives, and it's a silo. It's an e-government initiative next to the government initiatives. We need one overall initiative, one overall smart initiative. And I began to think about and to recognise the real interdependencies that exist already. Our public services are dependent on our banking system. Our health services are dependent on a very strong, confident economy. Our enterprise and our business is absolutely dependent on the universities, and vice versa. And we're all interdependent. We're interdependent, but we're not integrated. And until we are, we will not create a smart economy. We need smart integration to have a truly smart economy and a sustainable solution to the current challenges. We surely recognise that we're dependent on fellow Europeans and our American cousins to enrich our economy, and they are dependent on us. We need to check in on these dependencies whenever we're about to make a major decision. The Lisbon Treaty is a case in point. We need to ensure that we're integrated in a smart way into Europe. Do we want to be in Europe, part of Europe, or not? Do we want to give Europe a competitive advantage? If we wish to create a smart economy, I think the answer is obvious. Oui. So the big idea. We're all interdependent, but we need smart integration. If we are to succeed, we need to align around a vision for Ireland and look for opportunities to integrate the public and the private sectors, universities and enterprise, state agencies and citizens. The smart economy, it's about smart integration, creating a whole economy that is greater than the sum of the parts. I suppose I better tell you a bit about Abtran. Abtran was founded 12 years ago, with 6 people in a very small office. And we've grown steadily since then. We do employ 800 people now. And we have, I suppose, over the last 2 years, we've grown by 250 graduate jobs, not by 400. But maybe in the not so distant future. What do? We work across the economy. We work with large corporations like Sky, Hibernia, Aviva Health. We work with semi-state organisations, ESB, Unpost, as well as local and central government. It may surprise you to know that probably everybody here at some point has dealt with Abtron in the last number of months. We partner with both public and private sector clients with a wide reach across society. So whether you have put in a claim for your health insurance, whether you have queried your ESB bill, whether you have paid your e-toll or not, we'll probably be dealing with you. So what learnings can we bring to create the smart economy? And I started thinking about what do we do and what is relevant for us? What is our success? Our business is all about creating long-term sustainable partnerships. That's all we think about. We don't think about short-term. We only think about the long-term. And the success then for us has to be about a win-win. It's recognizing that, I suppose, the success of our customers is our success. Their growth is our growth. And that's a hard thing to do, and it's not easy. It's not for everyone. We've had some partnerships that don't work because there is this. If we can't identify that win-win, maybe we're not suitable for them or they're not suitable for us. But once we work on it, once we can see what is the clear vision, what is the clear strategy of our customers, and if we can align with them with what matters, and we can give them a competitive edge, then we've got a win-win. And once you get that, this alignment, we're unstoppable. Alignment is never easy, but when you get that alignment effect, it creates massive advantages. I suppose we first need to share a clearly understood strategy. What will success look like? We then once we see that, we align our resources around that. We optimize the strengths on our side and the strengths of our clients. And it's this thing, we're going for one overall common goal. And when we execute to a process of smart integration, ultimately it's about our people and the way they integrate in a smart way with our clients' organizations. I suppose, and this is the thing. If there's one thing that I can think of how we're going to create the smart economy, and that one thing, I suppose, the lesson that maybe Abtron can bring, it's about smart integration. It's about optimizing the strengths on both sides. It's about creating that win-win. This alignment and smart integration enables us to deliver, I suppose, economies of scale. It enables us to share our expertise and our experience across various different sectors. It enables us to look at new ways of doing things, to increase value and yet reduce costs, to get more for less. Earlier this year, to great fanfare for ourselves, we launched our Learning Innovation Centre. The centre represents a collaboration between our public sector clients, our private clients, universities, and Enterprise Ireland. And it provides us with opportunities to try things, to pilot things in a collaborative way. We always look to fail, but fail fast, and learn from our failures. And once we do that, we're always looking to home to get a better solution. And I looked with great interest when at the on-board SNP report, where they talked about the opportunities to pilot. And this to me is a great opportunity where we pilot together and we collaborate. It's not just ourselves, we collaborate with clients, with the government agencies, but also with universities. And it's an opportunity to try. If you fail, that's okay, but you've got to learn from it, and you'll always come up with a smarter way and a newer way of doing business. And in a way, there is no reason why this is a model that can't be used to develop the smart economy. One other thing that I suppose we thought of when we set up the Learning Innovation Centre, we had this resource, UCC, beside us for 11 years. We were very, very dependent on them, and we still are, for graduates, to feed our workforce. But we never realised the opportunity that we could by having a strategic link with them, of using their research centres to give our clients a competitive advantage. We now have that advantage because we have a link with the university. And I think this is a model of the dependency and the interdependency that I'm talking about. And it's not about UCC giving us, we're also giving to them. We're making them more commercial. We're commercializing their offering. And that has to be a good thing. Again, the whole of the economy is greater than the sum of the parts. I mentioned that we're always looking to get a win-win. If our customers win, we win. In this case, in this new form of collaboration with universities, they win, our clients win, we win. It's win-win-win. And that's the alignment effect. Measurement and smart measurement means that we need to measure the right thing. If we look at universities, for example, we shouldn't be looking at the number of PhDs that we churn out. We should be looking at their success should be tied to the success of the smart economy. Again, it's one vision, one goal, and we're all targeting towards that. The smart integration can really deliver improved public services at a lower cost. I can also point to Enterprise Ireland's sponsoring of the Learning Innovation Programme, the Learning for Growth Programme in Stanford universities. I'm one of 27 CEOs, and I'm very much proud to be part of that programme. The development of links between private enterprises and universities, in this case international universities, again, is helping to create the smart economy. And again, we're collaborating with each other. Our ambitions, before we went into Stanford, are now far in advance of where we are. And I can speak for all the CEOs that their target now is to create companies that are turning €1 billion per annum. And there's no reason why we can't do that. Another example of the interdependencies and the collaboration is even with our own cohort group within the 27 CEOs. We're able to add value to each other's businesses. We experience the same problems. And again, you have this alignment effect and this collaboration effect and the effect of the whole being greater than the sum of the parts. Ireland's new smarter economy can be rebuilt on the basis of smart integration. This is the big idea. We now need a smart plan, which outlines a strategy for integration between all our stakeholders, private, public, national, international. It's now time to create On Board Smart. If Colin McCarthy isn't too exhausted, I would say that he should be appointed right away and appointed to set up the chair of the new board. The cuts are coming. On Board SNP has reported. To create the economy of the future, we need to cut back, but we also need to cut smart. Newspaper editorials tell us we have no choices. We need to take our medicine. But it's how and when the medicine is administered is the key. And that will make the difference. And we can create new opportunities. As a nation, we're smart, and now we have a new hunger. So we will create these opportunities if the government can set us up to win. We will fix it once the conditions are in place. On Board Smart, we'll set the strategy for smart integration that will deliver a sustainable, scalable, smart economy. Cuts alone will only deliver short-term gains, not sustainable growth. Outsourcing for costs alone, trust me, from my experience, will not work. It's not just about the cuts that represent 7% of government spending. Even if we get these cuts of 5 billion, we're not focusing enough on optimizing the 50 billion. Nobody's talking about the 50 billion. And if we think about that 50 billion, is that in line with smart integration? Can we get more for less? However, the best laid strategies will fail in the present culture, where we have the public sector on one side and the private sector, represented by IBAC and other vested interest groups, on the other side. There's a frightening lack of collaboration. There is a risk at present that the publication of On Board SNIF's report will fuel the existing culture of win, lose. We need to remember, as we all know from experience, that a no-case strategy, well executed, will succeed, where an excellent strategy, poorly executed, will fail. Success is all about execution. The right culture is all about execution. It's all about the how. The how we're going to do it. In the words of Professor Charles O'Reilly, culture eats strategy for breakfast. We need to recognise this and look to change the rules of engagement if we are to successfully change to a winning culture. The vested interest groups need to see the light. They need to see smart integration. They need to see what is in it for them. And we need to show that everybody can win. We now need On Board Smart to recognise the interdependencies that exist across the economy and create a vision for the future based on smart integration. Smart integration that can create more value and build a smart economy. An economy that is greater than the sum of its parts. In the words of Gandhi, the difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing would solve the problems of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael Fitzgerald. I'm struck at the delicious sight of Colin McCarthy being approached by Minister Mary Coughlin and asked to sit at the top of Board Smart, you know. I can imagine what his response would be to being asked to be head of a Quango. If anyone knows Colin McCarthy, it would be juicy. But also, thank you, Michael, for putting meat on the bones of what is many times out of people's mouths a cliche, the smart economy. It is one of those things like Christmas, everyone's in favour, but no one knows exactly how long it takes to get there. And I think that's what we're going to be asking now, is that it's a political choice. It's a set of political choices, outlined some of them by Michael, between pumping scarce resources into perhaps building an indigenous industry based on PhDs, or bringing in labour-intensive multinationals. There are difficult choices here, and hopefully our next speaker will be talking about some of those. I will keep my introduction to her short. First of all, because she needs no introduction. Secondly, because I'm on home turf for her. I've already been told, keep your eye open as you sleep tonight, if you say anything bad. Suffice to say, our next speaker has served this constituency proudly for more than 20 years, has served proudly in the offices of Minister for Social and Family Affairs, then Agriculture, Fisheries and Food, and now is in the position of Taoiseach, Minister for Trade, Enterprise and Employment. Please welcome Mary Coughlin.